Hello everyone, this is Dr. Nandita Balakrishnan, and in this short session, I'm here to talk about Inicet exam and how to prepare in the last 10 days of Inicet, since the exam is coming on November 9th. So, talking about the exam, Inicet is an exam that tests the presence of your mind literally. You should learn to be attentive and cool throughout the exam. And although the questions may appear difficult, of course, there are some difficult questions, but still, in many difficult questions, the answers are there in the question itself. Answers can be derived from the question itself if you pay attention. The entire exam consists of 200 questions. The time duration is 3 hours. It has 4 slots, and each slot has 50 questions, and each slot is of 45 minutes. So you get less than 1 minute for doing one question. So time management is a very important factor that you should be familiar with while giving this exam. So in order to get familiar with that pattern of this exam, I usually did 50 question custom modules, keeping a timer, and I tried to do those 50 questions in 40 minutes or maximum 45 minutes, and the remaining 5 minutes or 10 minutes I used to review those questions. So in such while doing such a kind of practice, you get familiar with the INICT pattern more. Then another important point is that mark for review is not counted in this exam. Unlike the NEET PG pattern, mark for review is not counted. So whatever you keep for review, you should either save it or it is counted as unattempted. So that is one factor you should be keeping in mind while giving the exam. Then preparation for this exam, the main thing is that you should be familiar with the PYTs for the since there are only a few days for the exam. Just concentrate on the PYTs or PYQs mainly, especially last 5 years. If you can do last 5 years, it's very good. Last 7 years, the best preparation method. But if time is less, at least do 3 years of PYQs and then give the exam so that you get some kind of sense about what is being asked. Okay. Then instead of trying to cover everything, go in depth. Do the PYQs and then you will get the PYTs and go in and around that. For example, malaria was asked multiple times. So try to learn everything about malaria instead of trying to cover all the drugs, all the antihelminths, antiprotozoal drugs. Cover everything about malaria. So that's what is meant by going in depth. First year and second year subjects should be really strong. So you should focus on first year and second year more than the third year and final year subjects. Then try to give GTs of INICT pattern more and take them seriously like an actual exam. So for preparing while preparing for INICT, in the last 2 months or in the last 1 month, you should give INICT pattern GTs mainly so that you get an idea of about how to manage time and how many questions to answer, everything during the exam. So try to do that. Now in the last 10 days, it's better not to give a GT, or if you really want to give a GT, you can give a GT like tomorrow or in the last before the last 7 days, between 7 to 10 days, like before the last 7 days, you can give a GT. Don't try to give a GT within the last 7 days. You should be staying updated in subjects like PSM, pharmac, forensic, etc. All these subjects have many updates, so you should stay updated in those. Last 7 days, you should go through easily forgettable stuff like embryology from anatomy, BNS sections, anesthesia, the drugs and the various diagrams and the classifications, PSM logos and formulas, especially biostats and PSM, micro, the diagrams, the culture media, and all the forgettable names, psychopharmacology, ortho, the fracture classifications, fracture names, etc. Surgery, the classifications, cancer stagings from OBG surgery, etc. These all things you should focus on the last 7 days. Last 7 days, you should focus on whatever things you forget. Okay, you should try to mug up whatever you can in the last 7 days. Important topics that you should go through in these last 10 days itself are biostats from PSM, toxicology from forensic. Multiple questions have been asked repeatedly in the past years from toxicology. Pharmac, anti-cancer drugs, immunotherapy, and new advances, monoclonal antibodies that can be asked. Anatomy, embryology, biochem, molecular biology, physiology graphs, patho-slide identification, and especially the cancer portions and respiratory pathology. Opthal, focus on the image-based questions mainly. Study all the images given in Opthal. Dermat also, make sure that you go through the images in Dermat. Medicine, you can skip if time is less because you can answer medicine questions with common sense or some integrated questions will be asked. OBG, go through the contraceptives. Surgery, try to go through the trauma, breast surgery portion, and the GIT portion also, the gallbladder, the biliary tract, etc. So these points, definitely you should go through these points in the last 10 days. At least cover the first year and second year topics, main topics, if you can't go through the entire thing. So these are the most important topics that I found during my preparation. Then this was an example of like anatomy embryology question that they usually ask. Like they asked this question last year, November. This was a new question and a new image for me. So they asked to identify the structure, and I didn't know that. So while studying embryology, if you can, try to Google the images and try to get familiar with them more, so that there is a chance of such questions getting repeated. And this was a calculation question that was asked in physiology. So physiology, they are very fond of asking these graph based questions, so try to focus on those more, those graphical images and such kind of areas more. Try to learn them conceptually. In the last 10 days it's kind of little difficult, I know, but still try to focus on the graphs and the physiology formulas more. Then reaching to the answer. One important thing about ICT is that you should take the risk. Okay, you should learn to take the risk. So that's what I meant by, like, even if the questions appear difficult, sometimes if you are very level headed and attentive, you can derive the answer from the question itself. So this question was asked in last year INICT November, and it contained this PARP inhibitor. Like they asked which drug was a PARP inhibitor used in BRCA positive breast cancers. I didn't know that like drug. I haven't heard of it before, but it contained this PAR, and the only drug containing PAR was rucaparib. So I just marked rucaparib, and that is the answer in this question. So you should take the risk and you should trust your sixth sense in this exam. Then only you can move ahead of the crowd. Okay. So that is one technique that you should follow while giving this exam. And another one is trusting your sixth senses. Investigation of choice for ureteric calculus. This was a question that was asked in even in Neet PG, and in previous year INCT also this has been asked. So in this question, like, I wasn't sure about like answer between the NCCT option and CECT and USG options. Ureteroscopy, I was sure. It is an invasive investigation, so we don't use ureteroscopy for doing as an investigation of choice. So I rolled it out. USG, normally USG, it's kind of a first step kind of investigation, no? So I thought, okay, USG might not be that. Then I had confusion between NCCT and CECT. But then I remembered in my internship times, we used to write CTKUB, CTKUB, etc. to like investigate for renal stones and such other pathologies. So in CTKUB, we don't have a CECTKUB. So I thought, okay, then CT might be the answer. And I marked NCCT. Yes, that was the answer. I didn't exactly know that NCCT was the investigation of choice, but that is what I meant by trusting your sixth sense. So anyway, during the exam, you should trust your sixth sense. Then talking about time management. When you give the exam, if the question appears really bulky and you feel that you can't cover it within 45 seconds, you should read the last line of that question. You should look at the image, and then you will get an idea of what they are asking. Then you can read the options. If you get the answer, mark it. Otherwise, you read the options and then again try to read the entire question, so that you will be able to read the question more quickly. Okay. And sometimes it might be a very simple question. Last line itself will contain the question, the entire question. The rest of the things will be to waste your time. So try to read the last question when you find very bulky questions. And also you should you should pay attention whether they are asking true or false, or not true or not false, etc. They are very fond of doing this wordplay thing. So you should read that portion. Don't make any mistake there. So this is what I meant by like paying attention during doing a question. This was a question asked in May INICT. They asked most common inherited bleeding disorder, but many people just read most common and something related to bleeding like disorder. They marked factor 5 deficiency. So factor 5 deficiency we have marked in notes like most common clotting disorder, most common thrombophilia, like that. So many people got this wrong because they weren't paying attention to what was being asked. They just saw most common and they just marked factor 5 deficiency. The answer here was von Willebrand disease, most common inherited bleeding disorder. So you should pay attention during the exam. Number of attempts, it all depends on how difficult the exam is, or how difficult the exam pattern is, the questions are. So if you feel that majority of questions are being asked from PYQs, or they are like one word, like there are kind of simple questions where you can use your common sense to answer, you should give 190 plus attempts. So I did that. So I always recommend 190 plus attempts. But if you feel that the questions are kind of difficult, like in May INICT, it was very difficult. But November INICT last year, 2024, it was okay. It was like moderate to easy. But May INICT, it was moderate to difficult. So in such an exam where you find like many random questions are asked, lot of statement questions are asked, lot of bulky questions where it's difficult to rule out an answer, such questions are, do them selectively, because majority of people also will be doing selectively. And when you try to like mark all the questions, you will end up getting a lot of negative marks and your score will dip. So try to do that. Try to give less number of attempts. But anyway, I think it should be, even if the exam is difficult, in order to have a really good rank, the number of attempts should be 180 plus. Okay, so that's it about the number of attempts. And importance of giving GTs is to learn the INICT pattern, time management, and sometimes in certain GTs they will ask the possible questions that can be asked. So you can identify some like possible questions that can be asked in future INICT, etc. Now, how to prepare for the last 10 days? So this in this entire video, I was talking about INICT, and in between, I was talking about how to like give the INICT exam, what you should do during the exam, and how you should prepare beforehand. Now, talking about last 10 days of INICT, the main thing is that just focus on first year and second year if you don't have time. Do 3-year PYQs of every subject if you can. Whatever you find extra, whatever you find is not in your notes, try to write it down into your GT book or wrong copy. Just write it down. Okay, and read this copy like 2 days before the exam, and focus on the volatile topics that you have done. For example, if you have done anatomy, just focus on the embryology part. If you have done microbiology, let's focus on the like virus like images or culture medias, etc. And if you have done biochem, just focus on molecular biology in these last 10 days. And anyway, you should like focus on, if you have done forensic, focus on toxicology mainly. So do study selectively in the last 10 days. You can skip subjects like medicine, because you can use some kind of common sense to get to the answer. Physiology, PSM, try to do the like go through the formulas if you can. PSM especially, go through the logos and the biostats questions. Any updates in PSM, you can use the telegram groups of mentors and teachers, faculties, to find any updates that can be there in PSM or pharmac. Just go through that. And main thing is doing the first year, second year, giving at least 3-year PYQs, and just give the exam if it is for practice. Otherwise, if you are seriously preparing for this exam and having a good rank, just follow the like important things that you found, that you could get from this video. These were my strategies. I had a rank of 1367 last year November INICT. I had a rank of 355 in May INICT 2025, and a rank of 88 in Neet PG. So what I hope this video was useful to you, and thank you.